everyone, and welcome back to my true crime channel. Today I'm going to be doing a statement analysis of an interview that missing Summerwell's father gave Don Wells on Monday the 12th of July. So today, as I said, I'm going to analyse Don's words from this interview that he gave on Monday the 12th of July. I do detect deception, I will tell you that now, and I will detail why as I go through my analysis. So the interview starts with the interviewer saying to Don that we're coming up on a very sad anniversary, and at the time that the interview was filmed, it was 4 weeks since Summer had gone missing. It has now been 6 weeks since Summer has gone missing, but when it was filmed, it was 4 weeks.
I guess, we're coming up on a very sad milestone tomorrow, with being the fourth week. Basically a month since Summer went missing, and I just wanted to check in with you all and see, if there had been any new developments or anything had changed.
So Don replies that no, there's not been any new developments, and that it's very discouraging, and that only God can turn this around.
Nothing.
No.
That's real discouraging. Only God can turn this around at this point.
So in regards to the last statement, or the first statement given by Don, he uses religion, and in my opinion, he is a religious person, so there's nothing wrong with using religion, but to use it in the first part of the statement is a bit of a red flag to me, because it's almost trying to use the power of God, of a higher being, to distract from any guilt that there may be on Don's part. So next, the interviewer asks Don how are he and his family doing, and he starts by saying that Candace is really not doing very well.
How is your family coping?
My wife ain't doing too good. She's not doing too good at all. She's pretty upset.
I can imagine.
So Don says she's pretty upset, and the interviewer asks, does she need any help?
Is she needing help or anything, or?
So shockingly, Don replies to that Candace has got some anger issues, and all the stuff on social media, he alludes, clearly isn't helping.
No, just kind of some anger issues, and and all this stuff on social media is just.
I know that's out of line. That stuff's out of line, way out of line.
Yeah.
So I've got to say, guys, the first time I listened to this interview, and I have listened to it about 10 or 15 times now to do my analysis today, that raised a huge red flag to me. For him to mention that his wife has anger issues, it's almost like he's bad-mouthing her. I don't think he means to do it, or does he? I can't be certain here. I'm not certain whether he's trying to pass blame towards Candace by saying she has anger issues. It could just be, if people are being abusive to her on social media, it would be more upsetting. It may cause anxiety, and in some people it could cause anger, but not most people, unless you already have anger problems. And to me, that really wasn't good to hear Don say that. The interviewer then asks Don how his boys, Summer's brothers, are doing, and he says they're doing okay, and then he goes on to say that he isn't really doing very well, though.
How are your kids doing?
They're coping with it okay. They're doing okay. I'm upset.
Don then follows up by saying that, he is upset, but he's decided that he's not going to let Satan win.
I just made the decision. I made up my mind not to let Satan win.
So the interviewer then asks Don, how do you do that? And what steps do you take to not let it get to you, I guess is what he's saying.
How do you do that? What steps do you take personally?
Don says, to not let Satan win.
To not let Satan win?
So Don then says that he could be down and he could not go to work, and that he could let it affect him in every way. So Don then says he can't do that, and the interviewer follows up, well, obviously you've got a family to raise and you've got to continue with your life. So again here, the devil's being mentioned, religious rhetoric's being thrown in, and really there's probably no need. I'm not a religious person, I'll be honest with you all guys. I do believe in things like afterlife and the paranormal, but I don't believe in any particular God, although I certainly don't have problems with anyone that does. But I do have problems when people that have missing children feel the need to throw God into the story, when really there's not any need to be mentioning God, the devil, all of that stuff. You could just say, I'm trying to keep myself sane by going back to work. There's no need to throw all this religious rhetoric in my opinion.
Not let him get down. Not I mean, I could be down and not go back to work and let it affect me in every way. Well, I can't do that.
You still got a family to raise also, I guess, too, don't you?
So, so I still got to move forward.
Don then says he's still got to move forward, he's still got to try, he's still got to go to work, even though he misses her.
I still got to go to work. I still got to try, even though I miss her.
So Don then says he wishes to God that there was a way and that we live in an evil world. So again, more use of religion, stating that the world is evil, which would allude that someone was abducted.
I wish to God there was a way, but we live in an evil world.
Don then goes on to say that he's not the first to lose a family member and that all kinds of tragedies have been going on since the beginning.
I ain't the first one, to lose a family member, or all kind of tragedies been happening since the beginning of this.
So this doesn't sit well with me, to lose a family member. Now, if someone's missing, you have lost them. But when he says lose, it's almost as if it's a death, that he's grieving for Summer. It's not that she's missing, he's processed that she's gone, and it's a loss, as in a death. But again, just my opinion, guys. So in relation to that, Don follows on, since the beginning of our creation. So he doesn't mean since the beginning of Summer going missing. He means since the beginning of our creation, bad things have happened and there are evil forces in the world, is what he's alluding to.
Our creation, there's been all kind of bad stuff going on.
So Don then follows on from the bit about the start of our creation, that all kind of bad things have been happening and that it feels like a bad dream.
It does seem kind of like a bad dream or whatever, yeah.
So Don then follows on to say that his memories are with Summer and that it kills him because they had such a great relationship, is what he alludes to. Now, when I heard that for the first time, I didn't think that was good, that it kills him. Now, again, it is just a term of phrase. It doesn't necessarily mean guilt, but to me, as a statement analyst, the fact that he uses the word kill when his daughter's missing isn't great. And is it that Summer was killed? He knows that, and he's trying to sort of cover it up by the things he's saying in this interview. I think he might be.
It does, and my memories with Summer and everything, that's what kills me.
So Don then goes on to say that Summer loved him and that he's never had someone love him that much. Now, note the use of past tense. He doesn't say Summer loves him, Summer loved him. Now, we noticed a theme from the parents' first interview, given around 5 weeks ago, 1 week after Summer went missing, and the constant use of past tense then was extremely disturbing, and clearly it's continuing.
We had such a great love for each other. She loved me, and I don't know why I've never had someone love me that much.
So Don then goes on to say that it's been awesome between me and her, as in Summer. So again, it's been awesome, not our relationship is awesome. It's been, again, use of past tense. More red flags. This is not looking good for Don.
In my life. And so it's been awesome, between me and her. And
so he goes on to repeat, Don, that it's killed him since she's been gone. Again, it could just be a term of phrase, but that's now twice he's used the word killed, which when someone's missing, that's the last word you'd want to be using. Not great.
So it's killed me since she's been gone.
Don then goes on to say that knowing that someone abducted her and the cops are all around their house looking for her, even though she's not there. Now, again, just going straight for the abduction theory, the parents said that immediately, when it could have been that someone went into the woods and had an accident. A crazy theory, some people have said she could have gone into the woods and encountered a bear or a large animal that may have done something awful. But often when things like that happen, there are certain things that are left behind, and I'm not going to go into any gory details, I'm sure you guys can guess, but there would have been some sort of evidence in the woods. So I find that unplausible, but it's certainly plausible that Summer could have run into the woods and had an accident, but surely she would have been found by now. So Don goes on to say that he wished the police had blocked both ends of Beach Creek, the road that he lives down, obviously when Summer was reported missing, so that anybody that perhaps had Summer within the local vicinity outside of the grounds of their house, maybe a neighbour or whoever, wouldn't have been able to escape because both ends would have been blocked. But again, we're just going with the abduction theory. He doesn't seem to have any other theories, just that Summer was abducted, which I've never believed. I know you're not all going to agree, but I really don't buy this abduction theory, not at all.
It's just, at first, it was just so horrific knowing that someone abducted her and the cops are looking all around her house, knowing that she's not there. You know, it's like you just talking to yourself. You know, this ain't doing no good. But you know, I wish the police would have blocked off both ends of Beach Creek and everything else. And
so going back to what Don just said about both ends of the road that he lives down being blocked, he said it should have been contained by the police, and Summer could be hundreds of miles away. He kind of alludes that Summer is hundreds of miles away, almost as if he has some sort of factual knowledge of it. And the impression I got when I first heard this interview is that he wants the police to move far away from where they live, not be looking into them as suspects. Summer's probably 100 miles away, but, you know, he's sort of saying about the road being blocked at both ends, but surely, I know it wasn't blocked at both ends, but was he alluding that if it was, Summer wouldn't be hundreds of miles away? But he doesn't know she's hundreds of miles away. If you had a missing child, you tend to want the police search to be in the local area first. Perhaps it will move hundreds of miles away at some point if Summer's not found, but the fact that the TBI and the people that are searching and the entirety of the search teams haven't moved hundreds of miles away leads me to believe that they think Summer is somewhere in the local area.
if it contained in our area, because I'm sure she's hundreds of miles away. You know, I can't blame them or whatever, but I'm upset.
So Don says next that he can't blame them, as in the law enforcement or the local police, and that he doesn't blame them, but he's really upset. Now that makes me think that he's really upset and he does blame them. You know, the fact that they've not moved the search away from the home, he's upset about. Why is he upset? Because potentially it's going to uncover what has really gone on here.
I'm really upset, but it's too little, too late now.
Now, shockingly to me, the next thing Don says is that it's too little, too late now. Well, what's too little, too late? Surely you still want the people to be searching for your daughter. What's too little, too late? Could it be tragically that Summer's passed away and that's what he means by too little, too late? Got to say that that phrase doesn't sit well with me, and I am detecting deception from Don throughout here. I'm not accusing him of having anything to do with Summer's disappearance, but I believe he knows what really went on. That doesn't mean he was involved, although he might be. Obviously, I don't know, I wasn't there, but he certainly knows something about what happened to Summer. So the interviewer then says that I'm sure this has been on your mind, but your family have got to get on with the business of living, and, you know, other boys going to go back to school, and in other words, is life going to try and resume some kind of normality once it's time for the kids to go back to school?
I guess this is probably, I don't know if this is something that has been on in your family's mind, but you've got to kind of move on with the business of living. And I guess one of the things is your kids have to go back to school, and I was wondering if you all had given any thought to that, and if that's going to be if that's something that's going to be hard to do to take them back to school.
So Don says in response he doesn't know why, but they're dealing with it okay, and they're dealing with it better than him and Summer's mother, Candace.
Well, I mean, I don't know why, but they're dealing with it okay more than me. They're doing a lot better than me and Candace are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that is, but when I was in school, one of my guys, one of the kids that was in school with us, bought his son a shotgun, and somehow it accidentally went off and killed his dad right in front of him. And we never did see that kid back at school again, but that was his daddy, though. There's a difference, you know, I guess.
So the reason I find that story odd is, why did he bring it up in the first place? It wasn't really necessary, and the fact it was a story about someone that killed their dad by mistake with a shotgun, I find quite disturbing. Since listening to this interview for the first time, I have found, and I will share them, pictures of Summer's brothers holding what looked like shotguns with their father. Now, I'm not a gun person, and as I'm sure you all know, you guys that are watching me from the USA, we don't allow guns in this country. Handguns have been banned since Dunblane. And I'm pretty sure you've probably heard of Dunblane, because that was a horrific atrocity. Our gun laws are extremely different to yours. We don't have a constitution that says, you know, we can all have arms, and guns really are frowned upon in England. Now, I'm not saying that I completely disagree with guns. I wish our police had guns. I often go on holiday in France, and the police in France have guns, and I feel safer seeing that they've got guns, especially with all the terrorism that has gone on in Europe over the past sort of 5 or 10 years. I have been in countries like France and Belgium very soon after a terrorist attack, and seeing police with guns makes me feel more secure. So I wish the British police would have guns. I know not everyone's going to agree with that. It's quite a controversial thing, but I found it odd to see Summer's brothers holding guns, considering they're quite young boys. I'm not certain of all their ages, but the youngest one looks really young to be holding a gun. So I wonder now, and this is just a theory that I'm putting out there, I have no sound evidence, but could Summer's brothers have been playing with guns that day and there was a tragic accident that's been covered up? I really hope I'm wrong, but I am now wondering, after hearing Don say that and listening to this statement that he gave numerous times, that that story was not necessary to bring into the conversation. And why did he? Why did he? Not good.
I mean, maybe my kids are looking at it like, well, maybe God will bring her back, or I don't know. But
again, the use of God. This is quite a few times now that we've heard God bring into the story. As I said, it's not a huge red flag because he claims to be religious, so he's obviously going to think in that respect. But the fact that it keeps being brought up over and over again when it's not actually necessary, to me personally, is quite a big red flag for Don. He then says he's not sure why that is and that he doesn't know. So another humdinger of a statement is about to come from Don, and he says that statistically Summers could be dead, and that if you look at it in a statistic manner, is what he's getting at, statistically it's most likely that she's dead. Now, I find that really hard to listen to. Most parents that have missing children don't want to believe that they're dead 5 or 6 weeks into their disappearance. People cling on to hope. People that have even had a relative, whether it's a missing child or not, or a loved one, even a friend, be missing for 10 or 20 years, they still hold on to hope. They don't want to go through that grieving process until they know for sure the person has gone and has passed away. And with no concrete evidence of that, most people that know or love a missing person keep them in their heart and pray that they're alive, not look at statistics. That's the last thing you want to do if you want to keep your sanity. You want to be thinking that they're going to come back alive. And the fact that Don seemed to accept that Summer was dead after 1 week in that first interview that him and Candace, Summer's mother, gave, has really never sat well with me.
Statistically speaking, I mean, there's a good chance she's already dead if you look at it statistically.
Don then says he hates to think that, and that he loves her, i.e. Summer, with all his heart.
And I hate to think that. I love her with all my heart.
So Don then says, if only God, if nothing else, he'll see her in the resurrection. Again, another religious statement, another use of a higher being or a higher force. And forgetting the use of the religious rhetoric, aside from that, he's still accepting that she's dead. He's still talking about her in the past tense so far in the first 5 minutes of this interview. Really not good, raising many red flags for me.
My God. You know, if nothing else, you know, I'll see her in the resurrection.
So Don then says, pretty much as long as he sticks with the commandments, he will see Summer or her in the commandments. More use of a religious rhetoric, not great.
As long as I keep the commandments and I do what I'm supposed to do, I'll see her in the commandments.
So the interviewer then asks Don, is it just going to be back to business? And when school starts, are the kids going to be going back?
So is it going to be just kind of back to business when school starts and the kids are going to go back?
Don then says, we've got to go back to work. We don't have a choice.
Yeah, we ain't got to look. We don't have a choice, you know.
The interviewer then follows that up by saying, I'm wondering if there's been any fear or concern about letting Summer's brothers or them out of your sight.
I was just wondering if there was maybe any kind of fear or concern just to let them out of your sight.
Don says that he was, or they were, him and Candace, sending the boys down the road to the school bus stop, but there's no way they'll ever be doing that again.
Well, yeah, definitely. We was sending them down, you know, to the school bus by themselves, you know, but I don't think we'll ever do that again.
The interviewer then says, do they get picked up at the end of the road there, at the end of Beach Creek?
Do they get picked up at the end of your road there on Beach Creek?
So in response to that, Don says that, yep, they do get picked up at the end of the road. And then the interviewer says that basically your kids are going to be going back to school, you're going to be going back to work, and, you know, alludes that you are going to have to return to some kind of normality.
And, of course, you're back to work and the kids are going back to school, so it seems like there's no choice but to try to return to some sort of normalcy.
Don then says exactly, and that he's not going to let Satan let him go drinking, i.e. drinking alcohol. So again, Religious rhetoric, bringing the devil into things, isn't really needed, in my opinion. And again, it's just trying to bring in religion, God, Satan, to sort of distract from the fact that the family might have some knowledge that they've not let anybody know about.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to let Satan convince me to go drinking or whatever. I'm not going to do that.
Don says he's not going to do that. He's not going to go down that road. Don says he chooses life. He chooses God.
I'm going down that road. I choose life. Mm-hmm. Choose God.
So Don then says that in his life before, he was weaker, and any little excuse, he would go off drinking.
And that's probably, I've never, before in my life I was weaker, and just the least little thing would be the excuse to go get drunk or whatever,
Don then says not no more, and this is the most horrible thing that he could have ever thought about.
Not no more. Not. And this is the most horrific thing that I could have ever even thought of happening.
The interviewer then asks Don, has his theory changed at all or somewhat since they last spoke?
Has your theory about what happened to Summer changed any since we spoke a couple weeks ago?
Don then says no, she was abducted. So again, going with the abduction theory, not thinking that anything else could have happened and that it was definitely an abduction.
No, she was abducted.
He then says he forgets how you say it, but he then says reasonable deduction, what they teach you at school.
I forget how you put that, reasonable deduction, or however you say that. Mm-hmm. You're talking school, but...
So going back to that reasonable deduction, the fact that they've only come up with one theory and it's abduction, nothing else, not that Summer could have gone off and had an accident or anything like that. Clearly, if it was, an accident that's been covered up, they're not going to admit to it, but that don't sit well with me, that really doesn't sit well. Don then says that with that theory, 100% in his mind, Summer was abducted.
By that theory there, she's been abducted in my mind, 100%. Mm-hmm.
Don then says that he knows Candace wouldn't lie to him about any of the facts.
I know Candace wouldn't lie to me about any of the facts.
The interviewer then asks Don about Candace taking a lie detector test and about whether Don took one, and to give him a bit more information on that.
I think somebody said, or you told the media that she was lie detector test, and you took one also. And, and that you all were cleared of any suspicion that was, based on that.
And at the end of the question, the interviewer says, that you've done the lie detector tests and that you were cleared. So Don then goes on to say, we both, and then he stops. He was going to sort of speak about him and Candace doing the lie detector test or the polygraph, and he stops and sort of moves on to something else. Red flag.
Well, I don't know if we were completely cleared because that's not admissible in court.
Yeah.
But we both, at first, I didn't get no sleep for 2 days. I couldn't sleep. I was, it was the worst misery and pain I've ever felt in my life.
Don then says that he didn't get any sleep in the first 2 days. Now, I would imagine if you have a missing child, you don't get any sleep for a very long time, years, months, not just 2 days. So find that weird, and I find that really weird. If he was aware of guilty knowledge that something had happened to Summer and she has passed away, I hope she hasn't, but if he was aware, surely he'd be not sleeping for more than 2 days. So whether or not Summer has passed away or is missing, he really should be, struggling to sleep for more than 2 days. Not everyone is going to have sleep problems, but the majority of people that have a missing child, especially a 5-year-old, are going to have problems sleeping for a very long time, not just 2 days. So that raises a red flag, and it's another red flag for Don, I'm afraid.
At first, I didn't get no sleep for 2 days. I couldn't sleep. I was, it was the worst misery and pain I've ever felt in my life.
Don then says he couldn't sleep and that it's the worst pain and misery he's ever felt in his life. Now, I've got to be honest, I don't disbelieve Don when he says it was the worst pain and misery he felt in his life. He does actually sound quite truthful when he's saying that, but maybe not in relation to Summer going missing, maybe in relation to knowing something about Summer's disappearance and perhaps demise, and that's why it was the worst pain and misery. Don then says he wasn't able to take a lie detector test and that the police made him wait.
But I wasn't able to take a lie detector test. They made me wait a little bit.
He then says that when he did take it, he passed, and that they also made Candace wait to take her test.
When I did take it, I passed. They made Candace wait 5 days longer to take hers.
He said that the law enforcement, or the LE, made Candace wait at least 5 days to take hers because she wasn't, I'm guessing, mentally in a place to do the test.
You know, because she just wasn't able to. She tried, and she wasn't able to.
He then shockingly says that Candace tried to do the test, but she wasn't able to. But why wasn't she able to? Was she too upset? Well, we haven't seen much emotion from her in the interviews that she's given, so I'd like to have known why she wasn't able to, if they actually attempted to and it didn't happen. Really weird. Don then says that certain people, you know, he alludes certain people have said that they took more than one test. He said they didn't. There was no second test. They did the first test and they passed.
It's not, you know, people are saying that we failed and we took another test. That's not the case. We just weren't able to. So when we did take them, we both passed, you know.
Just separate to this, because this interview with Don was filmed on the 12th of July and a lot has happened since then, but there is now news in the last sort of 2 days here in the UK and around the world that Candace has been asked to do a third polygraph. So that would lead you to believe that she's already done 2 and the next one is number 3. Don says she's only done 1. So had she done another one in between the time he does this interview and the time that I'm filming today? Well, I haven't heard that. If you guys know that Candace did a second one in the last sort of week and there's definite concrete proof of it or news of it, please pop your comments below and let me know, because I've not been made aware of that at all. The interviewer then says that I imagine it monitors changes in your blood pressure and sort of goes into a bit of detail about what the polygraph measures in order to detect deception.
I imagine that if it measures changes in your blood pressure or something based on if you tell a lie, your blood pressure changes. But if you're tore off pieces, then your blood pressure is probably changing anyways.
Don says in response that the way it works is that it measures your brain activity too.
Well, the way it works is kind of it measures your brain's activity too.
Don then says if you're lying, you have to think about that lie, and if you stick with the truth.
And whenever you lie, you have to think about that lie. When you stick with the truth.
So if you stick with the truth, it just comes out, because the truth is the truth.
It just comes out, you know, the truth is the truth.
Mm-hmm. Don also says that when you lie, you have to think about it a little bit and that your heart might jump.
When you lie, you got to think about that for a little bit, and your heart might jump just a little bit or whatever, you know. They look at all that.
So the interviewer then follows up with the next question that he knows it's hard to ask, but he basically asks, have they ever interviewed or spoken to your Summer's brothers?
I know this is a hard question to ask, but did they ever do any question of your sons also, or?
He said that, yeah, his sons, the boys, Summer's brothers, were taken in by specialists as they can't just question them.
Any kind of...
Yeah, they've taken them into specialists because they can't come out and question them.
He then says that, yeah, all the boys were spoken to in one form or another, and that the mother-in-law was even given a lie detector test as well, and that she passed. So Grandma passed, Don passed, and apparently Candace passed. Wow.
They even give mother-in-law a lie detector test.
Oh, wow.
And she also passed.
Okay.
So the interviewer then says that he didn't go up to their house when they took the roadblock down, but that he has been there and he's looked and seen where the woods are in comparison to the house and where the house is in comparison to other houses, and that he doesn't think an abductor could have approached the house without someone knowing.
So this, I didn't go up to your house when they took the roadblock down. I didn't want to just bust up there and uninvited, but I did go into your driveway and look up. And I mean that for somebody to go up there and not knowing what they're going to find, it seems highly unlikely, because that's straight up, and you can't see where you're going. You don't know what's ahead of you.
So something else the interviewer says in part of that question is that, you know, to get to your home, you know, you wouldn't know that it was there if you weren't aware that the house was there and you went up the road. You wouldn't know what you were coming to. Kind of sort of saying maybe that it could only have been done by someone that knew Summer. But in my opinion, I don't think this interviewer, and as always, it's just my opinion, but I don't think this interviewer buys the abduction theory, just like me. So Don responds to that they've had other people sneaking round, as in sneaking around their house and the perimeter of their property.
And we've had several people sneaking around there, though.
So Don continues on and says that we've had people up there in the middle of the night, you know, looking around, creeping around, but never at 5:30 in the evening or the late afternoon.
I mean, we've had them sneak around at night, in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
We've never had somebody up there at 5:30 in the afternoon.
So Don then says that we know of, at 5:30, and that they didn't come up the driveway, they came from the woods.
They didn't come up the driveway, they come up a dog trail from the woods.
Oh, okay.
They didn't come up the driveway. And that dog that they used, that's where the sand took them, was down through the woods, not the driveway.
Don then elaborates a bit more on that and said that they came up a dog trail in the woods and that they definitely didn't come up the driveway. Okay, so how do you know that? That don't sit well with me. Unless you watched the abduction or there's a camera that filmed it, how do you know they came up a dog trail? Have you found some evidence that we're not aware of? None of this adds up, and it don't sit well with me. You can't know that they definitely come from the woods. I mean, you could presume if there really was an abduction that they came from the woods because you're aware that they didn't come up the drive, because that would have been heard by Candace and Candy, Summer's grandmother and Summer's brothers. But you can't know that they came up a dog trail or that they even came through the woods at all. So that doesn't sit well with me. Trying to convince it was definitely an abduction. They definitely come through the woods, but Don's got no proof of that. None of this is sitting well with me at all. The interviewer then asks Don, where did the scent end?
Where did the dog scent end?
Don says that the dog's scent that they could detect from Summer ended at the end of Ben Hill Road.
At the road, Ben Hill Road, is where the dog scent ended.
So Don says that right there, he already knew that, and that just confirmed it for him, i.e. the abduction theory.
Oh, man.
Yep. So that right there, I already knew all that, but that there just confirmed it for me.
The interviewer very sadly then asks Don, do you still believe she's alive? Do you have any intuition of, what might have happened?
Do you believe that she's still alive? Do you have any intuition that she might still be out there somewhere?
So Don says, I have no idea.
I have no idea.
Don follows on to say that he believes in God and that he doesn't believe in any psychic stuff.
All I know is I believe in God. I don't believe in any psychic stuff.
The interviewer then responds, that stuff's horrible. I've seen that on YouTube. And basically, they have a bit of a conversation about psychics commenting on this case on YouTube. And the interviewer clearly doesn't like it. Don sort of says he doesn't believe in it. He does believe in God, but he doesn't believe in psychics.
Oh, man, that stuff's horrible that they've had on. I've seen it on YouTube. That's terrible. Why would somebody? That's the morals of a person that would put that out there. What they've been saying.
Don then says that someone set up a fake account, I think he means on YouTube, in his name, perhaps comments on one of these psychics' videos that, he knows what's happened, and that he buried the body in the lake. If someone is out there posing as Don doing that, that's disgusting. You shouldn't be doing that. It's wrong. We're only speculating here. I can detect deception from Don, but that doesn't mean he's been hiding any bodies. For people to be doing that is really, really disturbing and really nasty.
Yeah, somebody made a fake account with me, and then they put on there to some other woman that I buried her body at the lake.
Don then says that the TBI have been out to the lake and they weren't able to get hold of him because he was in church, but they've been out there looking for the body. Now, presumably that's because of this fake account, and this person's wasted TBI's time, they're wasting the police's time. You shouldn't be pretending to be Don Wells. I mean, I imagine you can get in trouble for impersonating someone. Wrong. Not sure why people are doing that. If psychics want to make videos, that's up to them. But people commenting on psychics' videos pretending to be Don Wells is really wrong and really nasty. Don then says it's just ridiculous what they're doing, the general public, or some of them, and that they're all going with what these psychics are saying.
And so the TBI has been out the lake. They couldn't get a hold of me because I was in church, but they've been out there looking for her body. It's just ridiculous what people are doing, and they're going with these psychics and what they're saying.
He also says that they're doing all they can to get their story out there.
And doing whatever they can to get their story out there.
Don follows on and says that the Bible says it's clearly an abomination, i.e. psychics.
The Bible says clearly it's an abomination.
Right. Right.
So Don basically says that, if with a psychic or you see a psychic, you think you're talking to your dead relatives, that's untrue.
So when you see a psychic and you think you're talking, to your dead relatives or whatever, that's untrue.
So Don follows on from saying that's untrue, that Jesus said that when you die, you just sleep and you sleep through till the resurrection.
Because Jesus made it clear that when you die, you sleep until the resurrection.
So Don follows on by saying that you are in no conscious state whatsoever.
We're in no conscious state whatsoever.
He then continues, you were just asleep, and unconscious, as Jesus put it.
You are just unconscious, asleep, as Jesus put it.
And he continues, until the resurrection, and if you're talking to someone, it's an evil spirit.
Till the resurrection. So if you're talking to somebody, it's an evil spirit.
The interviewer then asks Don, is there anything that your family needs? Is there anything, he alludes that the general public can do to help, other than providing tips? Is there anything else that we can do for you?
Let me ask you this: is there anything that your family needs? Like, is there anything that the community can do aside from tipsters and things like that and information? But is there anything that you people in your family need?
So Don responds initially by saying he thinks they're good with everything.
That the community can
The
help
only
out?
thing no, I think we're good on everything.
Don continues, the way all these kids are coming up missing and all the drugs. Now I'm going to stop there quickly with what Don is saying. And all the drugs. What drugs? Kids go missing and drugs. So was Summer's disappearance to do with drugs? Wondering out now, especially, since he gave this interview, it's come out from Hunter, the boy that was there the day Summer goes missing, not when she went missing, but he had seen her earlier in the day when he'd been swimming with her and her mother. He basically was saying that there was a deleted text message from Candace's drug dealer that said it's done, or it could have been that Candace sent a message to him saying it was done, but what was done? Is it in relation to drugs or money? Is it in relation to Summer? And the fact that Don Wells brings up missing children and drugs. Now, all right, sometimes drugs are involved with missing children, but not all the time, and I wouldn't say in most cases. So weird that he sort of puts the two together, missing people and drugs. And is this something that is reflective of what's happened to his daughter? I'm thinking it might be.
The thing that I wish is, there's a country that, and the way these kids are coming up missing left and right, and all the drugs.
Don then says that we need to send our military into our own country, and that's his opinion.
Man, we need to send our military into our own country. That's my opinion.
He says that we send our military everywhere in the world to fight terrorism.
We send our military everywhere in the world to fight terrorism.
And that he thinks the military should be in their own country to try and fight terrorism.
I think it's time we turn into our own country to fight terrorism.
Don continues, we need our military. We need to put them to good use.
They can't seem to catch these guys nowhere. We need our military.
Mm-hmm.
So put them to some good use.
Don follows on by saying, that's what I wished.
That's what I wished.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pause what Don is saying for a moment here and just speak to you about that. Why did he start bringing up the military? Why did he start bringing up terrorism? It's got nothing to do with Summer going missing. Didn't sit well with me the first time I heard it. Hasn't sat well with me on every repeat I've listened to that audio of Don's interview. Is he maybe saying that the military needs to get involved? Or is he just having a bit of a moan about politics and, things like that to do with the military being abroad more, and maybe if they were within the country there'd be less terrorism within the USA? Weird. Obviously terrorism is affected around the world by most countries. We've had a lot of attacks here in England. I know you guys have had terrible things happen in America. Lots of awful things have happened in Belgium and Paris in recent years. And if I was to sit here and list all the terrorism acts, I'd be here forever. So I won't bore you and do that. But it doesn't sit well with me that Don needed to mention terrorism or the military. The military aren't involved in Summer's disappearance. So why the hell did he need to bring that up? It was almost as if he was sidetracking to sort of move away from the story of Summer being missing and chat a load of old crap about terrorism. Again, guys, just my opinion, but that raises a huge red flag for me for Don. So the interviewer then says he knows Don's at work and that he's on a break and that he's got to get back to work. And does he think that Mrs. Wells, although she's actually called Candace Bly, not Candace Wells, but would Mrs. Wells want to speak again to them?
Okay. Well, I know you're on break, and I probably need to let you get back to work. I was wondering, do you think Mrs. Wells would want to meet and talk any more about how things are going? Is she up to that?
Don responds, right now she's so terrible, it's getting worse for her.
Right now she's so torn up and stuff, it's just getting worse for her.
Yeah.
Don continues that it's bad for him too and that he wants his baby back.
mean, it is. It's bad for me too. I'd do anything to have my baby back.
And he continues, Don, that he has to put his faith in God, and that if it wasn't for his faith, he would have lost it.
I got to put my faith in God. I mean, if it wasn't for that, I would have lost it a long time ago.
Don continues that his God says that, you know, he's got to pray, and that he's got to pray that Summer will be okay.
I mean, my God says, you know, pray to him and pray that she's okay.
He continues on, and the next bit is a bit weird. He says, with his marked right arm and with his mice, as in little things with tails, mice. I'm not religious, so maybe if anyone that is watching is religious, you could tell me what that means. I don't really know what he means by a marked right arm. I'm not religious, so I have no idea. And mice, what's that got to do with anything? Maybe it's a religious term that I'm not aware of. Really, it's irrelevant. It's got nothing to do with Summer, and it's just more religious rhetoric from Don that's unnecessary, in my opinion.
Pull it through with his mighty right arm, with his mites, whatever, like something like that.
Don then continues that the police can't come up with nothing. And when he says that, it's a bit of a contempt on the nothing, with nothing. Doesn't sound very happy.
The police can't come up with nothing.
Interestingly, the next statement is all these people around the world on Facebook, they can't come up with nothing. The impression I get from that is that Don doesn't like this being discussed on social media. He doesn't want the web sleuths of the world to be trying to figure out what happened to his daughter. Why would you be like that? I mean, even if they haven't come up with nothing, the way you say it is with contempt. Fair enough if the police haven't come up with anything and she was abducted, you would speak like that. But surely you'd want the good folk of the true crime community on YouTube and on Facebook and other social networks to be helping put out suggestions for your daughter. Not ringing in tips, fair enough, but to be discussing his missing daughter's case is a good thing, surely. But not for Don. More red flags.
Now, all these people on Facebook all over the world can't come up with nothing.
So Don then follows on. Nobody can. Only God can. So what, only God can find Summer? Really? I mean, I'm not having a go at religious people here. Please don't think that I am. But God can't find Summer. Even if there is a God and people that believe in religion, it's true. And I'm mistaken with my beliefs in thinking that there isn't a God. Even if there is a God, he's not just going to return Summer. I mean, it's nice that Don relies on his religion and it gives him some sort of peace. But, you know, if his religion brings him some comfort, I have no problem with that. But he needs to be a bit more realistic and realise that God is not going to return Summer.
Nobody can. Only God can.
Right.
So the interviewer then says that in 30 years, he's never seen nothing like this happen. And Don says that in his life, he's never seen nothing like this either.
This is, in 30 years, I've never seen anything like this happen.
Me either. I mean, I've never seen anything in my life. I mean,
Don then says that as a kid, when he lived in Houston in Texas, it was pretty bad out there.
when I lived in Houston, Texas, when I was a kid, it was pretty bad out that way. But
Don follows on with what he was just saying, and that there was all kinds of crazy stuff going on out there.
yeah, all kind of crazy stuff out there.
So the interviewer then carries on that there was never a person that just disappeared without a trace. You know, a case, he's alluding like a case like Summers, where someone just goes and they're not found, that he's never known of it in 30 years. Find that weird, because missing people happen all the time. Not every, you know, minute of every day, but there are missing people every day all around the world, and a lot of them don't get found. So I found it weird that the interviewer said that. It was almost as if he was trying to appease Don, get Don on his side so that he'd speak more, to make Don think that this is extremely rare what's happened to your daughter, and that I've never known a case of a person going missing in the last 30 years where they just vanished without a trace. I've known many missing persons cases when they vanished without a trace, so I don't think the interviewer was being truthful there, but I think he said it to get Don on side.
There was never somebody that just disappeared without a clue that I know of. I'm sure it happens, but not that I've ever seen in my life.
Don then says that when there's an abduction, what else do you call it? A disappearance?
When there's an abduction, I mean, what else would you call it?
Yeah.
Disappearing.
Don continues that he doesn't understand and that someone must have been waiting in the weeds there.
I don't understand that. You know, so yeah, if somebody was either hiding in the weeds,
Don continues that they were being shady, hiding in the bushes, and must have gone down to the basement.
waiting for the shady, either come in the basement.
Don then continues that, yeah, they weren't more than 30 feet away when she got gone.
But yeah, I mean, we weren't 30 feet, they weren't 30 feet away when she got gone.
Don then says, and this is quite an interesting end to the interview here, that we weren't more than 30 feet away when she got gone. We. So using an umbrella term of we, but Don was at work, so it should be they. Candace, her mum, were 30 feet away. The boys were in the house. You were at work. So why is it we when it should be they? That is raising a massive red flag for me. Massive.
But yeah, I mean, we weren't 30. They weren't 30 feet away when she got gone. Yeah. I mean, maybe 40 at the most.
Right.
I don't know.
So interestingly, Don then corrects himself, says the same sentence that he's just said again, but changes we to they, because he's realised he shouldn't have said we, he said they. That makes me wonder if Don really wasn't at work, and I've been wondering this for a number of weeks now, and that he was there. Why would he say we if he wasn't there and it's they, and then he corrects himself? I'd already said it was a major red flag, but the fact that he corrects himself makes it an even bigger red flag. Huge red flags are flying for Don here, sorry to say.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't 30. They weren't 30 feet away when she got gone. Yeah. I mean, maybe 40 at the most.
Right.
I don't know.
So Don then continues, going back to his previous statement, and says maybe 40 at the most, as in 40 feet. Just sort of corrects himself to allow for an extra 10 feet. Really not that necessary. And then he sort of pauses for a minute and says, I don't know. Well, you're saying it was 30 feet, like you were quite sure. Then it was, maybe it was 40 feet, and now you don't know. Right, okay. This is really weird, not good, and I do detect deception. I'm sorry, guys, but I do. This is where the interview comes to an end, and the guy says, you know, he didn't want to ring and hassle him too soon, Don, and, you know, he didn't want to sort of, you know, be inappropriate is what he's getting at, but he wraps up the interview and thanks Don for his time.
Well, I sure appreciate you talking to me. I didn't want to call too much and be a pest, but after, you know, it's been a couple of weeks, I wanted to check back in with you.
Okay, so I appreciate you.
Okay, all right, take care. I'll be praying for you. All right, bye.
Thank you.
So Don then says he appreciates the guy checking in on him, and the guy then says that he will be praying for him. So a brief analysis, obviously I've been doing it throughout, but just to give you a roundup of what I think here, the fact that Don starts off the first part of the interview mentioning the word kill quite a lot, not great when you've got a missing child, not normal. The fact that religion is brought in way too many times, even for a religious person. You know, religious stancing, it seems a bit weird that you'd need to mention religion that many times. You know, mentioning the devil and God, and only God can bring summer home. Well, I think we all know whether we're religious or not. God's not bringing summer home. Hopefully the law enforcement and the TBI will bring summer home, but God's not going to help anyone here. I'm sorry, but he's really not. So obviously I've raised the red flags throughout my video, but one of the massive ones for me was Don bringing up this lad at school that killed his dad with a shotgun. It was irrelevant. It wasn't needed. Why was it brought up? And was there an accident with a gun? I know that's another theory that I'm throwing out there, and there are many in this case, but it's another plausible one. Could Summer's brother or brothers have been playing with a shotgun and there was a tragic accident that's been covered up? I'm not saying that's definitely what's happened, but it's a completely plausible theory, especially as Don brought that into that statement, and it wasn't necessary at all. So obviously we noticed throughout this interview with Don, he mentions Summer in the past tense. He doesn't really ever refer to her in the present tense, which isn't good. He could have just accepted she's dead, but personally I think he's got guilty knowledge that perhaps she has passed away. Whether it by an accident or on purpose, I don't know, but he's definitely got guilty knowledge of what's gone on here, in my opinion. You know, another red flag, and there are so many here, mentioning that Candace has anger problems. Why would you say that about your wife unless she's been kicking off and being horrible to you and being angry? You know, you can understand someone maybe being angry that their daughter's missing and they're getting abuse on social media, but normally it would be upset, you know, and angst, anxiety, stress. It wouldn't be anger unless it's anger based at the horrible trolls on Facebook that are giving her abuse when there's really no need. Keep your opinions to yourself. I don't mean you guys, I mean on social media. There's no need to send Candace direct messages. It's just uncalled for and unnecessary. So I'm not going to state everything again, but they were the sort of main things here that didn't sit well with me. I do detect deception from Don. I don't know what to think about this case. I'm still so confused and perplexed. Was it an accidental death covered up at the creek, a drowning, a head injury? You know, was Summer left in the car and got too hot and dehydrated and passed away from, you know, heat exhaustion and dehydration? Could it be that there was an accident with a gun? That seems likely now. Or could it be that there was a drug debt to a drug dealer and there was a disagreement with the drug dealer and Summer was took as payment? Again, guys, these are just theories I'm throwing out there. I don't know what's true, but as always, I want to know what you think. What do you think of this interview with Dom? Do you think mentioning this lad that killed his dad with the shotgun is relevant and was brought into the story on purpose, but Dom didn't mean to trip himself up? But has he from that? As always, guys, share your thoughts with me. I've really enjoyed reading all of your views on this case. It's one of the most fascinating missing cases of a young child that I've come across since Madeleine McCann. It does remind me of her case. The parents do seem really dodgy. There does seem to be signs of abuse and neglect, which is horrific. And I'm praying every day that Summer Wells is going to be found safe very soon. As always, guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much to all my new subscribers and all you lovely people that are commenting on my videos. I've really appreciated you doing that. I love that you're all talking with each other and sharing your views. You've become my little true crime community. I'm loving it. I'm loving doing these videos for you. I will have more videos on Summer coming out in the next few days, but keep commenting, keep sharing your views. Maybe we can come up with something here that's not been thought of. But thank you so much to everyone. And I just want to say sorry to all the people I've not gotten back to, but I do read all your comments, I promise. And as and when I get the time, hopefully tonight and tomorrow night, I will start replying to you guys. But anyway, take care of yourself, guys. Look after one another. Stay safe. And as always, I'll be back very soon with another true crime video. Bye for now.